Hey guys, we're here with Longy from the Casual Athlete. How are you, mate?
Mate, I am good. It's head-to-head finals time.
Yeah,
It's the time of year where all the work you've been doing all year is going to show itself, or are you going to fizzle out, right? So
yeah,
I think I'm feeling pretty good.
yeah. I think my team's in pretty good way. But just quickly talk us through the app you made, TBC Live, and why you think we should all download it.
Oh yeah, man. So I mean, once you're out of trades and fantasy, what are you going to do during the games, right? So
Yeah,
TBC Live, it's a live prediction game. So you've played a bunch. You jump in, you make predictions on the game. You can make like multis and that sort of thing as well. It's a non-gambling app, and there's no cost or anything like that to go into it. But it just gives you that ability, like you're sitting on the couch with mates and calling plays. It's the same thing, but in an app, and it gives you a score and a footy IQ score as well as that too. So pretty exciting spot. Like thousands of people have jumped across, and I'm sure a bunch more will now after this.
yeah. And I love playing it, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. But I think I know that after I probably have no trades left, considering I got one left, I'll probably try and
Yep.
yeah, jump more to that.
Yeah. Beauty, man.
Yeah, but yeah, so going in my team, I'm ranked 1.2K right now with yeah, the Payne Haas injury. I am thinking of doing this trade, which I think it's a little bit late, but I'm
Yep.
thinking of going Haas for Keeney over bringing in a Kalen Ponga, just because
Mm.
I haven't really seen massive scores from Ponga since returning. And I know he is playing the Tigers this week, but I think Kinney, he's so important for them and he's playing so well. It's kind of a risk that I'm willing to take. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's talk that AJ Brimson will come back at center for the Titans, so Keeney could hold that spot. It's a big gamble to go Keeney over Ponga. That's the one thing. I mean, I'm looking at buying Keeney this week as well, but I already have Ponga, and I've got it Ponga above Keeney myself. So if you want a real pod, this is a super pod move, but I would say the general call would be Ponga over Keeney.
Yeah, I mean, I know I love my pods. There's a couple in this team, but I do think that the only reason putting me off it is Kinney hurt me so much at the start of the year. I just
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
think I can go. I don't know how you go from scoring 18s to getting 80s.
Man, I was starting him every week too. Like at the start of the year,
Yeah,
and everyone gives me shit now because they'll come on and be like, "Oh, at the start of the year, longer you were saying every week, keep starting him. He's got the pedigree." And now he's done this, so yeah,
yeah, I
pod
know.
move. I don't mind it.
Yeah, but how do you think my overall side looks so far?
Yeah, let's have a run through. So, oh, Little's a bit of a pod as well,
Yeah,
with
he's
some
been killing
upside
it
there.
recently.
Yeah, yeah, and then forward pack looks pretty strong there across the board. Lucas is a nice flexible option. He should go well this week.
Yeah.
DCE, I like that big upside. You went Holmes last week.
No, I got Holmes round 21, I think. No,
Oh,
20.
mate,
I got him
prime.
round 20. Yeah.
No, he's killing it then. Yeah, that last
Yeah.
week matchup was huge for him, so that's awesome. Back three is really good. Bench Hughes, Grant, Starling is really good. Then that probably that fourth bench spot is a little bit of a weakness, but
Yeah.
you can do a bit of loopholing most weeks. Not
Not
this
this
week, but
week
most
though,
weeks you
because
can.
I usually have a player in every buy other than the this
Yeah.
week in the Roosters.
Oh yeah, no, that's all good. I mean, even Cheekam, right? Like he got the starting spot back because Jacob
Yeah.
Hurst is out for 2 to 4 weeks. So no, your team's looking pretty good. It's there's a lot of big pods here that are going to determine your end of
Yeah.
season. So if Little, Lucas, and Keeney, Holmes, and Grant can go well, then you're in a good spot.
Yeah, I do think that do you think that bringing in a wing fullback just because I don't want to play Blaze Talangi week in, week out, which is why I'm looking at a wing fullback. But do you think that I have to bring in a wing fullback or I can rely on Blaze and bring in like another middle where my fifth bench spot's my fourth bench spot's better because I got Blaze already playing in that wing fullback spot.
Is this your last trade?
No, I got one more left.
Okay. Um, it's tough for you to not have another wing fullback just because there was talk about Carraz being under injury crowd last week, and there's obviously Jaden Campbell as well, who
Yeah,
he's got some injury trouble sometimes. So I think you need the wing fullback depth, and I think between Paseka and Finu, you can get a decent loop most weeks.
yeah,
So
that's I
I
think
think
we're
they're making
playing
the
for
right move.
Seka just because he's probably around a 35 to 40, like
Mm.
is probably where he's going to fall by Fanu's a 15 to a 60 player. Like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. So I think you're making the right move.
yeah. All right, so let's get into it. So Patrick Carrigan, someone that I got as a very good buy this week at 689K. He does have a buy next week, but it's something that is. interesting for me is without paying Haas, he averages 63.5, which is where he has 14 points of value. Is there any interest in Pat Carrigan to the back end of the season?
Yeah, he's a beast, man. So the bye next week is the one thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to jump on him just because of that bye next week myself, but overall, yeah, no, he's an absolute monster. Look at these numbers, right? Like there's basically nothing below 60. So two scores below 60 in about 20 games, 15 games that we're seeing here. That's a massive strike rate. So yeah, I'm a big fan of him. But I don't have Yo yet, so I'm going to go Yo instead of Carrigan myself.
Yeah, I would chuck Isaiah Yo over Pat Carrigan, but I do think Carrigan's a very good anti-pod to kind of Yo, even though,
Yep.
and yeah, I think he will do a very good job, but I would just go for Yo considering he's got no buys left over, and he probably is on a better team, and who knows how Carrigan goes on that bad Broncos team.
That's what I'm worried about. So if they'd won the last two games, then I'd be talking about Paddy Carrigan, Reese Walsh, even Adam Reynolds at the price
Yeah.
he's at. But because they've faded out and they're not really in that finals race, or they're officially not in that finals race anymore, uh, it's there's not a lot to play for. So I'm not certain that we'll see 80-minute games from him.
Yeah, so I think it's probably just one you let go for the keeper.
Yeah, that's
But
it.
yeah, with Haas out, do you think Isaiah Yo is probably the next like the best mid now and close to a must-have?
Yeah, Yo's automatic, man. So he just doesn't score below 55 basically at all. The one issue with him is that he might get a rest in round 27. And that's going to be a tricky week. You know, I already have Fanua Blake, for example. A lot of people have Barnett. I would expect a lot of the Penrith boys to get a rest that week, but that could be a risk. Other than that, he's perfect.
Yeah, well, I've had him since round 4, and it's been pretty smooth
Yep.
sailing. Like one score below 40, and it's just for me, Yo, he's about anywhere from 55 to 70. And I mean, we see
Yep.
this game against the Dragons. He was on about 35 with 20 minutes to go in the game. He pumped out a 70. I think he's an absolute stud.
Yeah. I mean, that stat line, right? Like it's like 30 to 40 tackles, 150 to 200 meters run most weeks. Like, yeah, he's fine. He's absolutely fine. He's one of the best players in fantasy.
Yeah, and it's an easy watch too because he misses no tackles. Like I wasn't watching the Knights Penrith game. I looked at the stats and said Yo had 3 missed tackles, and I'm like, that is not right. You don't see Isaiah Yo miss 3 tackles.
Yeah,
And then
basically never.
he got taken off him, which was good. But so yeah, Joe Tarpon is one that I think is very, very interesting. I don't know if I'd have him over Carrigan or a Yo, but I mean I know a couple of people that have him at 744K. We all know what Tarpon he can do with a couple of massive scores there. Do you think that there's a chance that to anti-potting those two with Tarpon is a good idea?
I'm not super excited about Tarpanay myself. So on live today, people were blowing me up with Tarpanay questions, and I get it. Like he's got a reliable role. He has no buys left. He is that guy. Like he's an absolute beast. And there are a few injuries in the Canberra forward pack. But I'm looking at these minutes here, and it's like 54, 62, 54, 54, 50, 50, 58, 62. There's a lot of the recent games are all sort of between 50 and 54, with the exception of round 21. So I don't love it. I think he's going to be a guy who averages in sort of the mid 50s compared to, an Isaiah Yo at a much higher average. Saying that, if I had Yo already and I was looking at him versus Carrigan, I'd be looking at next week. Can I handle a player on a buy next week? If so, Carrigan's the better option. If not, then you go Tarpanay. So he's in the conversation. He's safe. He's probably the safest pick of this group, but in terms of he won't miss any games. But I'm just not inspired by the scoring. Are
Yeah,
you leaning into him or not really?
no, I'm not really leaning into him, but the only reason that I would look at him is just because I think the Raiders, they're fringe eight and they're going to need Tarpany so
Yep.
much, which is
Yeah.
the only reason I'm leaning into him. And I do think that Morgan Smith is out this week, which will be a good, like it'll show good signs for Tarpany going like with big minutes. But yeah, I just
Yeah.
think that I don't think you can antipod Yo. I think he's that consistent 70 when Tarpany, you see here, he can go 30s and he can go 40s, and you can never really trust Ricky. Like he went from playing Tom Starling 5 minutes a game to
Yeah.
playing him 80 now. So
I mean, look, you can have a look at this too. Like there's been 5 games this year with 60 plus minutes for Tarpanay. So 57 points, 68 points, 40, 94, and a 54. So you got a few of those really big games and safe scores. Like if he was playing 60 plus minutes, so 60 to 65, absolutely all over this. But yeah, Smithy's his name this week as well. So he's
it
in
is,
some
yeah.
doubt, but he's sort of he's in the team list. And Hosking's out. So it could be a big week this week. You could be right there.
Yeah, but I would probably wait and look a week at it. So we've already had a chat about Kalen Ponga, 648K, break even of 70. I would usually avoid a player for break even of 70, but the one thing that is for me is he's playing the West Tigers. And as much as I love
Yep.
my beloved Tigers, we all know that players can put up good form against them. And I was talking to some guy, like saying he hasn't really put up big scores, but you see, before his injury, he was getting back to some of his consistent best and putting up some good scores. So, do you think that Pong is kind of a slam dunk at that price?
Yeah. Could you filter by season 2023
Yeah,
and go minutes over 60 and go fullback
yeah,
position? Yeah. That's my argument.
yeah,
And go to 2022 if you like. Let's see that. So that's a lower number, right? Like,
a lot, not lower.
and then we go 2021. We're pre my research, by the way. I'm actually going to study up 53 and 2020. 58. Yeah. Okay. So a bit of a bounce around. So going back to last year, I mean, I just reckon the Knights they're close enough to that conversation of making the top eight that I think they're going to put on a bit of a show down the stretch. I like the Knights matchup. Cowboys absolutely tore apart. So the Knights, the Tigers matchup. The other thing is Ponga's had 8 games this year where he's played big minutes and scored 1 try in those games. So if he gets back to this sort of strike rate where he's going, a try every second game, then that by itself bumps his average up to about 60. So for me, I'm just looking at him. I like the potential high scores here. And you look at that run down the stretch, there's got scores of 90, 80 points, 70 points, a lot of 50 plus, not a lot of low scores here. So for me, it's a pretty straightforward pick. He even against Penrith last week, he pulled off a couple of attacking plays there, and yeah, I just reckon he's going to go hard. And they've got a good run of matchups as well.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm a bit worried about again is I wasn't watching the game, but I got reports that the halves just didn't look to find Ponga, and they didn't really look to give him the ball, which it is the same halves pairing again, isn't it, with Crosland and Gamble?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
weird halves pairing, man. Like
I
I'm
know.
surprised they're doing that.
I do think that halves, like, do you reckon he'll get the ball? Like, and was this true they didn't get much ball with those halves pairing?
I mean, Penrith are Penrith, right? So Penrith put the clamps on, but I reckon, I reckon they'll be looking to find him, right? Like, if you're Phoenix Crossland and Tyson Gamble, they're both playing good footy this year, right? This last couple of years, but you're not in the same league as Kellen Ponga. You got to feed him the ball.
He's both
That's
one
the
of the
big
best
thing.
players in the
So,
league.
yeah, he's on a different level, right? And that one try there, they're going to be wanting to get Ponga a bunch more ball. I love the base stats too. Like, look at the meters run this year. Like, even though
Yeah,
the scores haven't been there and the attacking plays haven't been there, those meters are fantastic. Like, he'll be fine. He's got a good run of matchups. Don't overthink it. He's got the Tigers this week. 5 weeks left. 648K is a discount as well. I'm all in on this one.
I don't think I can go with Keeney anymore after that, to be honest.
Oh, well, Keeney's numbers are better than Ponga's, man. Like,
Yeah, he's just
go with your gut. Yeah, if you go against your own instincts, then you'll just be raging.
yeah. So Mitch Barnett, second most
Mm,
expensive player in fantasy. I think now that Haas is out, he's a hold. But for me,
mm.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely a hold. But would you be looking to buy him at all, considering for that Haas replacement?
He's so overpriced,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
he's got the buy around 27, and the scores have been fantastic, right? They've been absolutely stellar. Because Tohu's out, he's playing great minutes. So if you ran filter by teammate and did Tohu, you'll see. I'm assuming you'll see a bit of a so with Tohu 48, without he is a 73.
This
There
is
we
minutes
go.
over 50 also. A prop.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
small sample size, but like, without Tohu, he's playing massive minutes. So a few Warriors fans actually pointed that out to me that he has taken a lot more leadership. They feel as well, and all that sort of thing too. So if you want him, go get him. But he's out round 27. If you have Fanua Blake already, if you have some of these Penrith players who might get a rest, maybe the Storm players might get a rest. That's the downside. And the other thing is the price. So if I go with someone else like Isaiah Yo, I save 100K, and that means I can trade Eli Katoa to Keeney, for example, or something like that, which I'm actually looking at this week. So for me, it doesn't work. But if your team had too much cash, maybe with the injuries, you had one trade left and Haas got injured and you had 100K in the bank or something, then Barnett is a good option. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't break my team to get him.
The one thing for me is he's never really been a proven gun at
Yep.
all, like over 50 minutes. So you see 47.8 average, 45.5, and he's definitely a better player. Like you got an Origin call up and that, but I just don't, really think that it's very sustainable for him, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if he's playing 70 minutes at prop, that's the big thing. That's a
Yeah.
different role.
Okay.
No one's ever played 70 minutes at prop. So, well, in the modern era anyway. So,
Yeah.
I think he can keep it going, but only if he keeps that role.
Yeah. So I'm both thermal 34 break even. With him being ruled out this week, do you think that he's just a hold and it'll be a 1 week thing, or do you think you look to sell him and maybe go to a Yo if you don't already have him, or a key on in the edge?
Oh, that's tricky, actually. So, my initial answer was hold 100%. But if you have a lot of centers already and you don't have Yo, that's actually kind of interesting. I think most teams, 99% of teams, it's going to be a hold. But if you have a team where you've got three other good centers, for example, and he's out, you could look at selling him. But most teams, they're going to hold him. I don't view him as a 70-point scorer every week, but I think he's a pretty safe 50 average kind of guy. I think the recent scores have been a little bit inflated, and we'll see a bit of a return to the norm going forward.
Yeah, I think they've been very inflated. A couple tries in there too last couple of weeks. And I mean the dual center position is nice, but I think he's definitely a hold and it'll probably be a season
Yeah.
long like cut price keeper, but I wouldn't be looking to sell him at all. Just a quick one. So we've been talking about Keeney and Ponga and the wing fullback. Is there any interest in bringing in Ruben Garrick as kind of a lower priced option with that dual position? Like we all know what Garrick can do, and they have as good of a run home as the Knights, arguably, and he goal kicks too. Just something for me is I filter it by 2024 at the center. He would be he'd be averaging 53.3 in over 60-minute games, and one of them is consistent with a 23 as his lowest score and a 26 when he played on the wing.
What are his if you go filter by teammate, could you go by Trebojevic?
Yeah, with 51.9 without
Okay. Doesn't really
58.3.
Yeah, it doesn't really change too much. Okay. Um yeah, I mean he's 53, right? He's pretty safe, he's at a good price. Dual position's nice. Shouldn't get a rest after this. I would say the HIAs are a bit of a fluke as well. I don't think he's not injury prone or anything, right? It's just a bit of bad luck. I like Manly for the run home. He's the goal kicker on that team. There's a lot of things to like about Ruben Garrick. If you need a guy around that price and you're capped on cash you can spend and dual position will help you, then I'm a big fan of this move.
Yeah, but I just don't think you can antipod someone of Ponga's like to get Ruben Garrick. Like Ponga's a top gun in the wing fullback when he's a top gun in the center, but not necessarily a top gun in the wing fullbacks.
Yeah, exactly right. And he's in most teams, right? So I don't own Ruben Garrick, for
Either do
example.
I.
Yeah, and it's not any intentional thing. Like I actually
Yeah,
like Ruben Garrick as a player. And there's been a few weeks where I've looked at him and then just not gone that way. But yeah, I think you might as well. If you don't have him, you might as well just keep anti-potting him
yeah.
and just see what happens.
So Tom Starling, someone that we were very, very high on. I don't know if you noticed, but yeah, we talked him up in pretty much everything we said. But yeah, for us it was just Tom Starling. You look at him over 50 minutes at Hooker in 2024, break even of 10, with a 56.8 average. Do you still think that Tom is a buy and could just be that season-long keeper at the wing fullback at the hooking position?
Yeah, Starling's tricky. So like standalone, if you just look at him, he's a buy. It's 565K for a guy who's probably going to average about 50 to 55 points for the run home. Awesome, looks good. Cook is on the bench now, Adam Cook instead of Levi as well, which is I don't know what that's going to mean. I think Cook probably comes on and plays a bit of hooker, but maybe it's just utility cover for the
Well,
bench, and they're not really
Starling
worried about Starling.
Yeah, he also has been moving to 13 too when Levi's come on, which is why he's played 80 and 80 minutes in two of those games.
Yeah, yeah, and look, they're playing good footy. So I don't know. That's the pros, right? But the cons are if you get Starling now, you're paying 200K more than everyone else did, and you're buying all the risk that he could potentially have his role changed or something like that with none of the reward because everyone else already has him. So The objective answer is yes, Starling is a buy. But my personal play answer is if I didn't get on Starling 3 weeks ago like I did, then I would probably be looking at him and going, you know what? I'm anti-potting him. I'm not getting on late. That's what I've done with Jaden Campbell, for example. So I liked Jaden Campbell originally. I just couldn't get him. And he went supernova. And I looked at him and I went, you know what? I like him still, but I'm not going to get him. I'm going to go a different way. And if he keeps going well, so be it. And if he burns out, then I get a win, right? So my advice to Tom Starling non-owners is unless you need someone at that price and it really suits you, I wouldn't be targeting him aggressively and breaking my team to get him.
Yeah. The thing for me again is Tom has a lot with Jacob Little too. He doesn't mind missing a tackle because they're kind of the smaller body
Yeah.
hookers. So when you have like these big props running at them, I do think that they do struggle to make tackles. Which you see here, Jacob gave away 5 missed tackles and 3 negatives, setting on 3 penalties, and he was able to put together a 36. So, and one bad score from Tom Starling, his price ride's kind of finished. So I
Yeah.
do think
Yeah. But the
you
tackle
avoid
count,
him.
man.
But yeah, Val Holmes, I mean, he's been a proven gun for many years. That 31 break even, very underpriced at 600K. Good draw too to finish with.
Yep.
And I think Melbourne is going to rest their players in round 26 because they don't want them to travel up to North Queensland. Is there any interest in Valentine Holmes as a keeper centre for the rest of the season?
I was super hot on Val Holmes last week. So yeah, super hot on him last week. He was our top pot of the week last week. This week, I was kind of hot on him for that Tigers matchup because I just thought the whole back line's going to feast and he's going to be a big part of it. And he was. But if I was looking at him this week, I just reckon you got the bye coming up in 2 weeks. Uh, he only plays center as well. His price is bumped up a bit. I'm not completely convinced, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think last week was the time to do it. This week, it's too late.
He is playing the Broncos also, though.
It's not a bad matchup. It's not a bad matchup. I'll give you that. It's not a bad matchup, but I look. You could do it. You could do it. It doesn't feel good to me, right?
Yeah.
It would have felt good last week. This week, it's kind of meh. Look at those numbers though. Actually, for top 100, top 1,000 ownership,
Yeah.
0%. None of the top 100. You know what? That's actually kind of changing my mind. If I was sitting in like 50th or 80th or something like that, Val Holmes is a guy who can string together 80-point games. Maybe I would look at this. It'd depend. If I had no other Cowboys players, I'd consider it.
Yeah. I just think that he's such a sharp shooter with the boot. Also, like he is. I do think the Cowboys are putting a couple of scores. Like we all know what they can do as an attacking side. That his floor is kind of that with his base and his goal kicking. I mean, I do think his floor is about that 35 mark. Then there's not many good centers going around either. So yeah, I think
Yeah, but a lot of teams have centers already, right? So the question
yeah,
is he that much better than Kale Aro? Is he that much better than Herbie Farmworth? Is that much better than Jack Whiten? Probably not that much better. Not
yeah,
worth trade.
no. Unless you don't have one of those guys.
They're my three. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm very interested in Cam Munster. 589K for Cameron Munster. Break game of 61. I mean, I think the biggest con for Cam Munster is that groin,
Mhm.
but I think the biggest pro is he Cam Munster.
Yep. Can you filter by season? Yeah. So go 2024 and go minutes over, let's say 50 or 60. Yeah, 60 is fine. Kick meters 130 this year. Could you go to last year? 230. Could you go to the year before? Yeah, 204. Okay, yeah. So I hadn't really fully analyzed him, but my suspicion was that he's not doing as much kicking this year. So and you can see that sort of in the recent numbers as well. Yeah, for Cam Munster, I think that groin issue, it doesn't seem to be impacting the running game. So 177 meters last week against the Dragons. They lost that game, so they need more from him. That's very encouraging. The lack of kicking it weakens the base a little bit. So if you're getting Munster, he's always been a volatile fantasy option and a guy who can score 100 points or can score 30 points in a given week. I think that stretches that even more. It goes 100 to maybe 20 now without the kicking game. So you're getting a guy with no kicking game who has some injury concerns and could get a rest towards the end. But the upside is you get this run of insane form where he just tears up. So if you think he is going to come back and you like the way he looked last week and you want to take a shot at it, then I don't mind the pod play. But for me, I'm probably not going to do it. And again, we're talking about team situations here too. If you need a second player under 600K, you know what I mean? And I say under 600K because I like Dylan Brown more in the same mold as Cam Munster. So if you're going under 600K and you need a second player and you want to really take a stab at it, maybe you're more head-to-head focused, Cam Munster could be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I know I picked him up in round 5, which probably wasn't the smartest
Oof.
decision. But
You got the 91 out of him, mate.
yeah, I got a 91, but I just wasted 2 trades on him pretty much. I
Yeah, fair.
I just don't know if I could go with Cameron this season. Like again, I think next season when his groin is better, I'd look at him. But again, with Ponga, like he's had that 191, but no real like Cam Munster like scoring like with a couple of 91s there, or a great show of form with a lot of tries being scored. And he is on a very good Storm team, but I also think that does hurt him a bit too. Like they have so many attacking stats. You saw Grant step up last week, but you also got Hughes, Eli Katoa, Xavier Coates, Ryan Pappenhausen, Nick
Yep.
Meaney, Jack Howarth. Like you got so many different scoring options, which I do think affects Cameron Munster.
Fair play.
Yeah, so I would probably let him go through. Samuel Afainu, I got him as definitely a hold after that 60 points, 531K. Do you think it's as simple as just say it's a hold?
Oh, I kind of hated that 60 points. Like he was on my bench, so I didn't start him. So I'm probably bitter. But I'm just going to point it out, like 61 points with 2 tries, with a line break, you know, you're throwing a tackle break or two. I sort of look at that and go, all right, well, if you take those out, if you just give him a regular game of footy, then you're looking at more like 40, 35 points instead. So I start to look at that and go, all right, well, that's probably not as exciting. Um, for mine, he's a good end of bench guy. And the Tigers have a decent number of early games on the run home. So he's a guy you can probably loophole a lot of weeks. He covers both mid and edge forward as well. Like, has the buy in round 26 isn't great. Like, if he is a guy you can sell and it makes your team better, then do it. But don't force him out of your team, is sort of my answer there.
Yeah. The one thing for me is the 48 average without John Bateman, and that 27 came with him having moved to the centers. So I mean, I would definitely look. I would be holding them. And
Yep.
if I think if you have enough trades, you don't have any fires to put out, it's a very luxury trade and go for it then. But
It's just a 48 average with a 0.5 try scoring rate. So try every second game to get that
yeah,
48 average. Like, do you think that he's going to maintain that? Do you think he's going to score 3 more tries this year or 2 more tries this year? Right. In a Tigers team that is sort of starting to give up a bit, that's the narrative you got to bet on.
yeah. But that dual position is very handy.
Oh, it is nice. Yeah. I'll
But
keep him. I'm not selling him 100%. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
So you see Cameron, sorry, Connor Watson, a little bit of a
This one
fall the
hurts,
last
man.
couple of weeks. One of them come off a sin bin, but just a couple of low minute games. Do you think that with that dual position and the buy this week, Connor is a hold, or is there any interest in selling Connor at all?
Dude, he's killing us.
I mean, I don't know.
The game on the weekend, like essentially that was a 55-minute game as well. And he came back on and played 20 minutes in the centers. So it doesn't really, he doesn't score any points out there. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sell him because I went and bought him and I like the upside and I've got enough injuries to deal with, you know. So I think at 682K, he's a guy who could theoretically absolutely crush it on the run home. So for me, that's enough to hold on to him. But if I had a clean slate, like, you know, in fantasy Premier League, you can reset your team, use your
Yeah,
wild card, whatever it is. If I had a wild card, would I get rid of Watson? Probably.
yeah,
But with the trades we have left, I'm not going to be selling him. And I think he's got plenty of upside. So I'm telling myself he's going to bounce back, but I don't know with Trent Robinson what's going to happen.
yeah. I do think he is a top 5, middle 2 to hold probably. Now if Haas injured, and yeah, again, I think it's a luxury trade if you can.
Yeah.
So last week we had Harry Grant as a buy, and I've got him as a buy again. I mean,
Mhm.
it killed us. He got 81, Cook got 97 or 95. But
Yep.
the one thing that stood out for me is just Harry, his pedigree. Like I knew that 81 would come this season. Like he's
Yeah.
such a good player, and now for lower break even, do you think it's about time to swoop on him for yeah again a season long keeper that and cut price keeper of that?
Yeah, I mean, he's scoring tries lately, right? So I was really keen on Grant around round 20. But now I look at him and I sort of go, oh, you know what? 50 points in round 20, kind of average. 54 in round 21 with the try. 81 in round 22 with 2 tries. They both have line breaks. So you look at that, that breaks down to about a 50 without the tries. You're basically betting on him being a big attacking player. But then he's done a few interviews recently where he's talked about being more defensively minded and the fact that the back line is doing the job and he doesn't have to do as much. Maybe last week against St. George changed that because they weren't scoring any points outside of him. So maybe he wakes up again. I like the upside of this pick because the last few years he has been the top hooker in fantasy every year. And Damien Cook is so at risk of losing minutes down the stretch. So I would, if I was buying a hooker right now, which I'm not, then I would be looking very closely at Harry Grant. Yeah, but it could also be very frustrating because look at those scores this year. Like it's been tough this year, but that 138 run meters last week is very encouraging.
Yeah, the one thing for me is his missed tackle numbers have kind of decreased. Like you haven't seen a 7 missed tackles since round 10, and I do think, and his tackle numbers are increasing too. So I do think his base is increasing also, which is also why
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
and we all know what he can do as an attacking player. Like he gets a quick play, the ball grants off, and good luck catching
Oh,
him.
yeah.
Yeah, so Max Plath, he's back at hooker and he's gone 2 back-to-back unreal games at hooker. Do you think
Mm.
now he's definitely a hold and yeah, you wouldn't be looking to sell him again? Haas injured, good mid cover.
Yeah, you hold him for sure. So I've had a few people asking me, should you buy him? That's probably the bigger question.
Yeah,
And it's a firm no for me. It's definitely a no. He's been very attacking play reliant in that spot. Um, if you're picking him, you're basically betting on him being a big attacking player on the run home. So yeah, hold on to him, but don't buy him.
yeah, I agree. That half duel is nice though. Yeah, so
Oh
you
yeah.
got Galvin here, 674K buy coming up. I do think there's a lot more halves you could go with. I mean, if you told me to start the season, Galvin would be more expensive than Munster. I'd think you're crazy. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Big
couple
time.
of lower games, 343s in last month. Do you think that now Galvin is someone you look to sell or maybe loop on a weaker Tigers side, or is he just someone you hold for the whole season and he'll do you a job getting 40 is pretty much his floor?
Galvin's awesome. I love the footy he's played this year. He's absolutely awesome. I was the captain of the Sell Galvin club last week, though. So I sold Galvin last week. And the story I was telling last week was he's a guy who had an injury last week. So he went 75 minutes. You can see it there in round 21. He's got a few niggles that he's dealing with. They've already publicly scrutinized the Tigers for him playing injured. They have a buy in round 26, and he is a young guy where there is replacements. They might want to see what they have in Latu Finu, for example. They have Caesar back. Dewey might want to crack at half, like whatever it is. I don't know what they're going to do. There are just a lot of little things that are, each of these things I'm mentioning is like a 5, 10, 15% chance of burning you as a fantasy coach. So none of them are likely to happen. But when you stack them up on top of each other, it just gives me a lot of a feeling that he won't play around 26 and he might not play around 27 if anything goes wrong. So for mine, at the price he was at last week in particular, and still this week actually, close to 700K, it's an easy sell. So
Yeah.
I reckon if you're weak at wing fullback, for example, and you got the halves, Galvin to Ponga is such an easy straight swap trade. If you're not dealing with other injuries, obviously, that you could absolutely make. The other thing I'll point out here is the kick meters. So 150 kick meters a game. It's a low kick meter count, which means you're relying on him running the ball a ton and getting attacking stats. So again, are you betting on the Tigers scoring 30 points every week? They did last week, but can they keep on doing that, or is that going to fade?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, I just think that yeah, you can go to some really good players with Galvin and who really knows. Probably the
Yeah.
last one we got time for. Xavier Willison, 467K. With Payne Haas out, do you think that Willison does become somewhat of a buy now, or is it just a clear avoid?
Skip. Let's go to the next one. Let's
Yeah.
quick fire these last ones. Let's go bang, bang, bang.
Damien
Damien
Cook.
Cook. No, too much risk. Mama Ellis on the bench. It's too late.
Yeah, Reed Marnie.
Oh, this is so frustrating. If you have a billion trades, you could sell him. I was selling him last week and I reversed the trade once Haas got hurt because I knew I needed to trade for that instead. So if you have a billion trades, sell him.
Yeah, I do think that he misses a lot of tackles though, which is why he could be a good sell. Hat sell.
Boop, sell.
Angus Crichton, a couple missed tackles last week. Do you think it's time to sell him, or he's just a hold? He's probably the second best
Don't
age.
sell him. No, it's an interesting price actually. I might target him.
Yeah, yeah. So hold him definitely. Look to buy.
Hold. Yep.
Ethan Strange rested last
Sell.
week. Dual position, hold or sell.
Look at that list. There's nothing over 50. Like a couple of games over 50, but you want 50 plus from your starters. So he's a sell.
Yeah, unless he's there as a loop or cover like he is for my side. It's just I'd probably
Yeah,
hold him
yeah,
just because of his.
sure.
Yeah. James Tedesco, 84 break even, just the best wing fullback or second best with Edwards out and hold.
Hold for sure. Yep.
Yeah, just a low game for him. And
Yep.
Terrell May back to the bench with a couple of their forwards coming back. Got a bit lucky last week.
It's a hard one. I'd probably sell if you're flush with trades, sell him. But at the same time, five of the top 100 have him, for example. If you're sitting in 80th place, he's the kind of pod that could pop off in the right scenario. So if you have the trade, sell him, but I can see a small chance where he could pop off.
Yeah, I do agree. And I mean, it's pretty much 50-50. But yeah, thanks for joining us, Longy. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys.
No worries, man. It's good to be here. We chat all the time, so good
Yeah,
to hop on your show.
yeah, thank you. Cheers.